It's night time. Jesus and his friends have just finished supper and headed out to the Garden of Gethsemane, a place that they knew well, a place where they spent time together. But tonight, things felt different. It was dark. The only light that they had were from burning torches, from flames, maybe from a fire. Jesus spends time in prayer in the garden. The name Gethsemane means the olive press, the place of the olive press, and it was a place where literally the olives were pressed and crushed down so that they released their oils that were then used for making olive oil. It's a place of tremendous pressure, a place of crushing, a place of breaking, and it's here that Jesus himself experiences that crushing, that breaking, that pressure as he faces this lonely night, knowing what lay before him. And of course, they weren't the only ones there. Watching and waiting was Judas and the guards from the temple that he had brought, again by torchlight, to find Jesus there. And he walks up to Jesus, his teacher, his rabbi, who he's followed for several years, and he gives him a kiss to identify him as the person that the authorities are to take away. And so Jesus, who has never done anything wrong, has never harmed anyone, is taken away by armed guards to the temple courts, to the court of the high priest Caiaphas. And some of the disciples who have run away follow at a distance, and Peter is one of those who follows at a distance, and he's there warming himself by the fire in the courtyard of Caiaphas's palace. And people recognize him. They've seen him before, and so they come up to him and say, "Aren't you one of those guys who was with Jesus?" And he denies that he's one of his followers. And again, someone comes up to him by the fire and says, surely you're from that area, surely you must know him. And again, Peter says, no, he doesn't know what they're talking about. And then for a third time, someone says, no, I've seen you with Jesus. You're one of his disciples. And for a third time, Peter denies that he knows Jesus. And then the cock crows and he remembers Jesus' words from just a few hours before, and he breaks down in emotion and he leaves. This is a night of shadows, a night where the darkness begins to gather, around Jesus. As they walk down earlier that night to the Garden of Gethsemane, which is at the bottom of the Mount of Olives. It's outside of the city walls, and they have to go down into the Kidron Valley, and they have to cross over a stream, and at the entrance to the garden is a monument to the prophet Zechariah. And maybe it's here that Jesus says those words from Zechariah, that they will strike the shepherd and the sheep will be scattered. As we reflect today on the gathering darkness around Jesus, as we think about those moments of pressure, those moments of crushing in our own lives, then the great comfort that we can receive on this Maundy Thursday is that Jesus enters that place for us, that Jesus enters those moments in our lives where there's pressure, those moments in our lives where it seems that the darkness is gathering. Because he's been there himself. He knows what those places are like, and he is uniquely able to stand with us, to watch with us and pray. There are those disciples who he asks that of, where he asks them to keep watch with him and pray just for a little while. But they fall asleep. They can't manage it. Jesus is not falling asleep in those areas of your life where you need someone to watch and wait with you. where it feels as though everyone else has abandoned you, where it feels as though everyone else has fallen asleep. He who watches over you, the scriptures say, does not slumber nor sleep. So on this Maundy Thursday, as we reflect on that meal that Jesus shared with his disciples, that meal that just a few days ago we shared on our Sunday service together, that meal of communion. So we're reflecting on those times that Jesus shared with those intimate friends. And Jesus surrounded himself with those people close to him. He goes into the garden with those people closest to him. He asks them to watch and wait with him in prayer. Who are those people that in the dark moments, in the hard moments, in the crushing moments are there for you? The people who stand with you and sit with you in prayer and in faithful fellowship. I pray that as we enter into this weekend, however you enter into it, whatever you're going through, whether, for you it's this peaceful, tranquil time, or whether this time in the garden is a time of crushing, a time of pressing, may you know the fellowship of the one who does not fall asleep on his watch over you. And may you know the fellowship of those who stand with you, even in the difficult times. So as we enter this journey together, may God bless you.